This is the way One Voice Now came to me. I owned a restaurant right near the University of Notre Dame. And, that's what I was doing. I was sort of minding my own business. I was somewhat of an activist at that time. A week before Christmas, 1989, all of a sudden my life changed. And what happened was it was 5:45 in the morning and my eyes opened. My wife is laying next to me. She has no idea that any of this is happening. And I'm paralyzed. And I'm laying there and I'm being forced to watch my life replay on my blinds like I'm watching a movie. And I'm paralyzed. I can't say anything. I can't move, but I'm watching my life. I've had ups and downs in my life. And these experiences were being replayed for a period of till 7 o'clock in the morning, an hour and 15 minutes. And at 7 o'clock, all of a sudden I'm released from this paralysis and I get out of bed and I'm thinking, what the hell happened? I thought I had like a stroke or something. And I got out of bed and I was feeling okay, pretty tired. And I didn't say anything to my wife. And I ended up going to work. I guess I looked pretty bad that day. People were asking me if I felt all right. And I said, yeah, how men are with their health, we're tough and nothing's wrong. So I sort of blew it off and forgot about it. And the next morning at exactly 5:45 to the minute, my eyes opened again. And once again, I'm awake. And once again, I start watching more of my life, replaying on my blinds. And at 7 o'clock to the minute, all of a sudden I'm released from this paralysis. I get out of bed and I go, what the hell is going on here, And I went to work that day. I still didn't say anything to anybody. Well, this happened just like this for 5 days in a row. And on the evening of the fifth day, we ended up going over to some friend's house. There were 3 couples and we had dinner and the guys went in the living room to talk about nothing of importance. Back then you didn't talk about religion or government. You talked about baseball or whatever, or basketball, stupid stuff. And so we go in the living room, us three guys, and all of a sudden I stand up and I start saying, don't you understand what they're doing to us? They're taking our money. They're giving us these greedy, hypocritic laws to live under. And my wife walks in the room and she says, what's going on? And my one friend says, well, Dave wants to overthrow the government. And I said, I didn't say that. I said, don't you understand that they're giving us these horrible laws and they're stealing our money? And back then you didn't talk about religion or politics. And my wife got somewhat upset with me, so we left. And it was a cold night and we drove home and it was cold in the car. She was not happy with me. So we went to bed and the next morning at exactly 5:45, once again, my eyes opened, but this time it was different. This time it felt like there was an electric field around my head. I could not move a muscle. My wife is laying next to me. She has no clue what's going on. And this time the message is given to me. And the message is that the miracle of the TV is a miracle that's been given to us by God, not so that we can be programmed with sex and violence, but so that we can use it as a component, a tool, so that we, the people, can watch issues over the TV ourselves. And all of a sudden, bam, the miracle of the touch-tone phone, my focus goes to this touch-tone phone laying next to my bed, is that it's a miracle that's been given to us, not so that we can be interrupted with somebody wanting to sell us something while we're trying to eat, but as a tool, as a voting device, so that when we see issues over the TV, we can then vote by phone. And the third component is the computer, BAM, which is the component that receives the calls and with ID numbers and PIN numbers verifies the caller and counts the votes. And that was the message that was given to me on the sixth morning. And I've got tears rolling down my eyes. I can't say a word. And it feels as though somebody or something is being dropped into my body. I feel like I'm sharing my body with somebody else. And I couldn't say anything until exactly 7 o'clock. And when 7 o'clock hit, I jumped out of bed and I said, honey, that's it. That's why these miracles of technology have been given to us so that we, the people, can watch issues over the TV. Now it's the radio and the internet. We can vote by phone on those issues. It can go into a computer that will count the vote and block us out from voting more than once. And we can now have decisions made the way our founders wanted them to be made, of, by, and for we, the people. And she's looking at me like Terry Garr looked at John Denver in the movie, oh God, like she just lost a good husband. And that's what happened on the 6th day. And on the 7th day, it was like an exact refresher course of the 6th, sort of to make sure that I understood it. Once again, I'm paralyzed. Once again, it feels as though somebody's being dropped into my body. Once again, I've got tears rolling down my eyes. Once again, the TV, the touch-tone phone, the computer, putting those three components together, that's the vehicle that we need in our communities to empower and interconnect all of us brain cells to start fixing the issues in our lives. And so that was how the vision was given to me. So I take no credit for One Voice now. It was just given to me that way. For 30 years now, I've been going out and trying to convince people that this is the plan. I've taken it to all these politicians. They all individually say they like it, but they really won't support it because they don't want to lose control over our money. So this is the plan that we need to fix America. This is the blueprint. This is the blueprint that allows the last to be first and the first to be last. It was prophesized 2,000 years ago. And there's another part of this that I wasn't going to talk about, but I want to talk about it because I have this cancer and I don't know how long I'm going to be here. There's some technology that might be able to keep me around for a while, but it's possible that it won't work and I won't be here very long. So I really do want people to know about this. And keep in mind that even though I'm going to tell you the story about me, it's not really about me. It's about everybody. It's about everybody having a voice, okay? So this is what happened. After my vision, I did a lot of things, but immediately after my vision, I had this question. And actually, I had two questions. The first question is, why did this happen to me? And the second question was, who's this guy by the name of Jesus? Because I felt as though I knew this guy better than anybody ever had, but I really knew nothing about him because I was raised in the Jewish religion. So we really didn't know much about Jesus. A lot of my Christian friends would ask me what I thought about Jesus, and I would always say the same thing. I said, I think he was a great man, but I think he was misinterpreted in a lot of things that he was attempting to get across to us. And one of those things is, I didn't come to change the laws, I came to fulfill the laws, meaning the 10 Commandments. Those 10 Commandments are the 10 morals that we need in our society, that we all need to know. You need to know that lying is wrong, lying about people is wrong, stealing is wrong, killing is wrong, disrespecting parents is wrong, believing in false idols, believing in politicians is wrong, working 7 days a week is wrong, envying your neighbor, adultery is wrong. Those are the morals. If we as a society just do those 10 things, all of a sudden things will start to be beautiful again. But a lot of people don't know that back in 1960, 9 lawyers on the Supreme Court decided God was wrong and threw out all of the morals. They threw out the day of rest because they said that had to do with religion. And the 10 Commandments have nothing to do with religion whatsoever. They have to do with treating people the way you would want to be treated. The golden rule, doing unto others as you would have others do unto you. So they threw those out in 1960 when they threw that one day of rest out, because a lot of people don't realize before 1960, this country used to be closed down one day a week. It was our day of rest. And families came together. The planet was able to breathe because people weren't driving. And all of a sudden, things were great back then. And then they decided that was wrong. They got us working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And after that, we went and started killing in Vietnam and other wars. And obviously the politicians are lying. Lying is right. Okay, adultery is now fine. We've turned into an immoral country because we threw out all of those morals. And what we've got to do, Jesus said, I didn't come to change the laws, I came to fulfill them, with the plan that was given to me a week before Christmas 1989. This will give we the people the tools to bring those morals back into our communities. Excuse me. So anyway, this is what I wanted to share with you. It's a little weird, but hopefully you like the idea of one voice now. That's the message that was given to me. But when this happened to me, like I said, I wanted to know why this happened to me, and I needed to know about this guy by the name of Jesus. So I had become friends with probably the most intelligent person I've ever known, an elderly Greek gentleman by the name of Andy Coleus. He and I started working together when I opened my restaurant. He sold me some food things that I wanted to have in my restaurant. And the interesting thing about Andy is I met him in 1984 at my office. I was in the insurance business at the time. And we became great friends. But a year before I met him, this sounds a little strange, he died. It turns out where my restaurant was, a block from that restaurant, there was a gas station. Andy was pumping gas, and he had a heart attack, and he died. And they were working on him, and they couldn't revive him. While he was gone, he saw his mother and he said he saw his mother and his aunt, and he wanted to go with them. They said, we aren't ready for you yet. And miraculously, after they'd quit working on him, Andy came back. They said they'd never seen anything like this. So that was pretty amazing. A year later, Andy and I met, and he became my mentor. And he was coming in the restaurant every day to read the newspaper, and I had this question about Jesus, who I knew nothing about. And I timidly went up to him and I said, Andy, I have a question for you. I said, could you tell me about Jesus? And he said, I'll be glad to tell you about Jesus, Dave. He said, but first I want you to tell me why you want to know about him. And I said, well, and I told him what happened with my paralysis. And I said, Andy, I said, do you think I'm crazy? And he said, Dave, he said, why would I think you're crazy? He said, if God wants to speak to you, God can speak to you. He says, that's all possible. And so Andy started to tell me about this guy by the name of Jesus, who several thousand years ago, this Jewish guy who walked around, and he was denouncing the greedy, hypocritic hierarchy because they were taxing the people to death and giving him these horrible laws to live under. And while he's telling me this, I'm starting to think of the plan that was given to me, how the one voice now could actually fulfill what Jesus was attempting to do. And Jesus gave his life to get a message out to the people, and the message was, obviously, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Seek the truth, it will make you free. And he said, I didn't come to change the laws, I came to fulfill the laws. And he said, there will be a day where the last will be first and the first will be last. Those are the basic tenets of what Jesus was attempting to get out to humanity before he was killed. And I think he knew that unless he was killed, he would not have been able to get his message out. So anyway, Andy, I'm thinking that, this message that was given to me fulfills the intent that Jesus had. But Andy also wanted to know why this happened to me. And when Andy, he started coming in every day after that with a different little thing that he had thought about. And the first thing that he thought about was that Jesus was a Jew, and I'm of the Jewish religion. I wouldn't say I'm a practicing Jew, but I was born into the Jewish religion. And so Andy brought, Jesus is a Jew, I'm a Jew, fine. So the next thing that we realized was that as I was growing up, my dad used to call me David HaMelech, which means King David. And in the Old Testament, David was known as King of the Jews. In the New Testament, Jesus is known as King of the Jews. And the next thing that we realized was that people would always kid me about my last name being Frank. Jesus said it'll be the truth that will make you free. And if you look up the word Frank in the dictionary, it means truthful and honest, okay? So The next thing that we realize, according to the New Testament, the end of the beginning and the beginning of the end begins when the Jews get back to their homeland. And the Jews got back to their homeland in 1948, and I was born in 1948. And the next thing that Andy came up with was that the third component that completes the communication system is the computer. And if you know anything about the computer, you know it's made up of, all the information in the computer is made up of two numbers, 1 and 0. My date of birth is 101048. So I'm not saying I'm Jesus. What I'm saying is that I'm trying to fulfill what Jesus had put out 2,000 years ago to make this world a better place. And, there are other things that I've learned that I guess I won't talk about now. But one of the interesting things is, and I'd like to share this, is that Jesus said, "Look unto me for the answer." And if you go into a church, you'll see a cross, okay? And 2,000 years ago, Jesus denounced the hierarchy because they were taxing the people. And my message to the people is, we have the technology today to give each and every one of us a real and equal voice. So if you go into a church and you see this cross, you'll see that it's also a letter T, okay? It's also a letter T. Now, Jesus said, "Look unto me for the answer." And if you go into a church, you'll see Jesus on a cross. And remember, the message that was given to me is that through the miracle of technology, we can now resolve our own issues. And if you look at the word Jesus, it's Jesus. And if you write the word issue right under it, it's ISSUE. In Greek and Roman letters, the I and the J are interchangeable. And you'll notice that every letter in the word issue is in the word Jesus. So that's basically it. I'm just here, Jesus said, "I'm a vessel." That's what I am. I'm a vessel bringing you a message. It's not about David Frank. It's really not about me at all. Today we have people fighting over whether Jesus was white or black, or whether he had blue hair, blue eyes, or straight hair. It's not about any of that. It's not about the physical person. It's not about Dave, and it's not about Jesus. It's about the message. And the message is, we need to do unto others. We need to bring back the laws that were thrown out back in 1960 by the lawyers. And that's why we have a system that's now of the lawyers, by the lawyers, and for the lawyers. And we need to seek a world of the truth. And is the truth what the politicians decide for us, or what we, the people, decide together? And once again, when Andy was dying, he called me to his bedside and he said, "Davy boy," he says, "always remember, Vox Populi, Vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God." That's what One Voice Now is. That's what the One Voice Now is plan. It interconnects all the brain cells. Think of the brain cells in your head. Unless those brain cells are interconnected, you don't function, okay? In our communities, until we interconnect the brain cells in our communities will not function. Our education system will not work. Our healthcare system will not work. Our infrastructure will fall apart. Our air will be dirty. Our water will be dirty. Our judicial system will be corrupt. Our penal system will be corrupt. Nothing works. But once we build this in every community, and I'm asking everybody to stand up in every community, build a coalition with just one thing. No matter what your issue is, stand up and demand that we build the tools to resolve your issue, not through politics, but through the truth, through technology, through One Voice Now. OneVoiceNow.org is the blueprint that everyone needs in their community. Follow the blueprint. It will show you how to raise issues in your community, debate them, vote on them, implement them, get started, rebuild your community, share your ideas with all the other communities. This is in my book. It's called A Solution, Not a Revolution. And this is important because if we want to fix our communities, what we have to do is we have to get organized. And in order to get organized, we have to be able to communicate. One Voice Now puts the unity back in our community. And it's very important to know this. This is part of the system. It's called Remapping America. And the Postal Service started remapping America with zip codes. They had to remap America so that they could get organized and deliver the mail better. The phone company remapped America with area codes. They remapped America so that we could communicate better. And the politicians have been remapping America with gerrymandering. They've been remapping their districts so that they can get elected or re-elected. We have to remap America too. And we now have the satellite and computer technology where we can remap America so that it looks like a honeycomb. If you look at God's creature that's most responsible for making the world a beautiful place, it's a honeybee. The honeybee stores the fruits of its labor in a structure called a honeycomb. And if you look at a honeycomb very closely, you'll find that the honeycomb is made up of hexagons. Your community will now be a hexagon. And the nucleus of your community will be your local public broadcasting facility, now to be used as your local issues TV, radio, and internet channel to send the information out, ideas that you, the people, have in your community to make your community better. We'll debate them, send that out over the TV, radio, and internet, and we'll be voting with any touch-tone phone. 100 people can use the same touch-tone phone. You'll be using ID number and PIN number, and it'll go into a community database. So we'll be using the TV station as the nucleus to send the information out and to keep your issues local too. That's why that TV station is very important. Everybody in that viewing area will be able to use that TV station as their tool to send their ideas out, and a community database for phone voting to receive your votes. And all of a sudden, we're the new brain on the planet, sending information out, receiving it, and making things better. So anyway, that's basically it. I hope everybody likes this. onevoicenow.org. Please share this with everybody. Thanks for watching, and I love you. Take care.